This is MLB The Show 23. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here? It's a 4K resolution, 60 FPS, HDR support. It's got cross-platform co-op. It's got multiplayer locally up to 4. It's got online multiplayer up to 8. And yeah, it's this latest entry in the very long-running baseball simulation franchise, with this being, I think it's like third year on Xbox already. Wow, time flies when you're enjoying the magic of the game. So we've got a host of modes and ways to play and interact with the game, and I will say this year's version definitely does feel a bit more iterative in regards to smaller, more incremental changes. It's a little, like, I'm a little harder pressed to find, big adjustments to the game, big changes here or there. And at the same time, when you get a lot of these sports titles kind of maturing, having a lot of, modes and stuff, you do kind of sit there and be like, well, to be fair, what else do you really add, right? So in the game, we've got exhibition, just quick matches, the challenge of the week. There's moments, which are like, special moments that pop up, whether that's like big things in the season, historical stuff. There's the home run derby. There's retro mode if you want to play like really old school kind of like, the baseball thing where it's like simple button commands, stuff like that. Then you've got, wow, that guy's really getting me. Then you've got your online mode, so you can compete with other people. There's like online co-op. There's the postseason. There's custom leagues. There's custom practice, which has a little bit of work to it as well. You got your franchise mode, where you run through franchises. You got Diamond Dynasty, which is like the card-based thing. Because every sports game has to have a card-based mode. There's Road to the Show, March to October. And then there's a specific historical league that celebrates the particular culture. And that's a neat addition as well, which highlights some very iconic individuals that have made an impact on the sport. And that's a nice touch as well. So, big changes. Franchise / March to October. The draft has been redone with advanced strategy and depth to it. The new MLB postseason has been made present within this. The schedule and CBA updates are all available. So that new format is fully ready to go within this release. When it comes to legends, there's 25 new legends, joining a roster of like over 180, basically legends that are available within the game at this current point in time. The Cultural Historical League Baseball Museum is integrated within it to celebrate iconic players. And there's the Diamond Dynasty edition in regards to how the cards are handled. So there's now card sets and seasons that will limit the use of what cards can be deployed. So that's just like an extra layering of complexity to how the cards are done. I know that, some people take the card element of, these games very, very seriously, so that is actually, for those players that are really into the card-based mode, that's going to be a very big, kind of game changer, is that integration element of, the seasons and using specific things in certain seasons and having certain sets like that. If you don't play that kind of mode, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you do, that is a bit of a game changer, quite honestly. There's also gameplay changes, so we've got, fielding adjustments in regards to, the throwing interface has been kind of a little adjusted and overhauled. There's quirks, so, the break outlier and pick off artist quirks adjust how the play in the field works. That's kind of a similar thing with offense. There's the offense clutch attribute that's been changed and adjusted, and then there's two quirks there, the bad ball hitter and the table setter quirks. So those are little weird things, certain little properties that can kind of change how a scenario plays out. So it's a nice little adjustment in that part of the overall ball game. There's something like 5,000 new animations for how players react and move within the game, and also weirdly some dancing for players. I don't remember that being a thing, but in the dugout sometimes people will dance. I don't remember that being in there last year. I could be mistaken, but it's interesting. it's it's definitely interesting. So those are kind of the key elements of the game, the key elements of the big changes. So obviously, MLB The Show, baseball simulation. It's also for casual play. There are a bazillion difficulty options for any type of player, so it is very accessible. It's very open for you to jump in and learn the game of baseball if you'd like to get into it. Learn about the MLB. They've got the different teams. They've got tons of different jersey options. I guess the jerseys were touched up a bit too. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a big change there. And yeah, it just kind of covers all of the key modes, whether you just want to have like a mode where you're just kind of batting. Do you want to have regular play? Do you want to adjust your innings? Do you want to have weather? And stuff like that. And it's all kind of present here in full force. And that's again where I was saying kind of at the beginning of the video where I'm sort of like, what else do you add that's going to go right to them? Yeah, thought that was going to be good there. So, yeah, you kind of look at it and you're like, what else do they add to this game to, like, kind of evolve it? So it's still great. Like, it's, I don't want to sound negative to any degree, because it really is. It's a great, game. It captures the sport of baseball quite beautifully. It's visually impressive. It's got all the technology of the modern era. And, it's got all the fun and the silly things of the different, like, stadiums. And it's got a ton of stadiums. And it's got historic stadiums. And there's customization elements. And, all kinds of custom crazy stadiums and stuff. And, it's like a full game. It's just, yeah, I kind of, like, I sit here and it's like, people will go and like, what's new? What's changed? And I kind of go, there's changes, there's improvements, you get that every year, but there's nothing that's like monumentally different aside from that note where it's like if you are doing the card-based mode. I think that changes things up quite a bit in my opinion. So I think that would be quite big. I did notice polish-wise, there does seem to be some fields where the white lines seem to clip through the grass, and some areas where the grass kind of seems a bit off, and there's some other, I noticed like a few kind of like clipping things, like somebody would be resting their hand on their knee and it would like, kind of be clipping through it, their hand or their arm, just stuff like that. And it's a weird thing to mention, but again, just like it was strangely more visible to me this year when playing it than previously. So that was just kind of present in some areas, and some like weird jagged lines on some of the fields too, which I thought was a bit weird. Some of the edges of things, I didn't quite get why that was the case, but yeah, that kind of stood out to me. I again feel that they should do some more work on the close crowd here. Okay, so like the crowd density is really good in this game. Like there's a lot of different individuals, there's a lot of different people. And, the crowds, they're pretty busy. I don't know why when I was streaming the game, the crowds were kind of like half full. I thought that was kind of funny. I guess maybe it depends on like some sort of simulation lock with regular season. I don't know, something like that. But like, like the crowds, they look good. You can look in the backdrop. There's all these people moving around, and they do silly things for all the different teams and their traditions and all that. That's all present. And, all the weird quirks of the stadium, they're all captured, and and all that great stuff. But like for here, the close-up range, I really do wish they would kind of detail those crowd members a little bit more, because they look all right. And I know it might be a silly thing where it's like, well, who cares about this? But when you play a lot of the game and you look at this angle like often, over and over and over again, the crowd tends to stick out with you, and it's like, I don't know, it could be of a higher quality is what I'm trying to say. For specifically the top bar range of people you see there, could look better. They also have this cool crowd cam where You're basically like kind of adjusting a camera within like a group of the stadium, like somewhere randomly across the stadium, and you're like able to get a look at the fans. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I do think that element could be adjusted a little bit better. But I mean, like the players, they all look realistic. I mean, the visuals all look good. It seems to be all running very smoothly this year. I haven't really had any performance problems or anything like that. You know, the quality is all great on like the characters and the fabric and stuff like that. I see, you know, areas where it could like graphically get more intensive, I guess, but you know, it's just it's a fine, well refined version of baseball. I would like to see them maybe play around with some more intensive frame rate type options. It would be kind of cool, but I shouldn't have swung at that at all. But I mean, the game has been captured here. And it gives you, you know, if you need it, tool tips. It gives you information on how good your batting was, where, you know, kind of the inside of like where you get like pitch to and everything like that. Like it's a very well-rounded, realistic and or casual, if you set it up that way, take on baseball, you know. And it's just kind of like it's another release for the year. It's another quality release of the game. It's fun to jump into every year. I certainly do enjoy it. You know, I thoroughly have a good time jumping in and playing. Whoa, what was that? You know, the sport. I will also say that they show like a camera thing in the top right corner there where it's like kind of I'm sure you've seen it a few times, where it kind of shows where the players are moving. It's so low res. Kind of reminds me of, because it's like super jagged and it's like all the details of the characters are gone. You see in the top right there, it looks really kind of rough, and it's kind of like I think that could be better done. Like it kind of reminds me, because I was playing Ghost Recon actually today, like old Ghost Recon, like Advanced Warfighter 1, and they have cameras like that. It's like super low res, and that's kind of what my mind kind of goes to. It's sort of like, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like I could see all these little things in the game where I'm like, this could be improved, that could be improved, but you're nitpicking at that point, or you're waiting for like a more of a, you know, further down the line graphical overhaul is what you're kind of what I'm thinking of, basically, is where they could improve things further. But like it's a full, well done game. They nailed it again. It's quality, it's enjoyable, it simulates the sport of baseball. It has the different modes. They've expanded upon the modes a little bit. They've refined and polished things here or there. And it's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, it's great. You know, you have a good time playing it. Oh, you even got like a knee hit there. It's kind of funny if that picks up on the mic. But, you know, it's MLB. It's baseball. It's batting. It's pitching. There's different perspectives and angles that you can change up to for how you... Yeah, oh, that looks promising, but nah, it's gonna go right to him, eh? Oh, that was almost right. Like that was very close. Very well done. And it just kind of it hits the mark well. If you're wanting to play baseball, it's great. If this is your like first time coming in, you're probably gonna be pretty amazed and be like, oh wow, you know, this is cool. You know, this hits the mark. You can learn the game pretty effectively by jumping and playing the game. If you're coming from last year, you know, it's going to be kind of smaller incremental improvements. If you've taken a couple of years off, it's a very good version of the game. That's sort of the perspective of where I'm coming from, is like, seriously, it's great. it all looks good, and, you know, it all plays well, and I haven't really had any problems, which is kind of expected, because I'm like, you know, sports games pretty straightforward year on year. Probably not the most exciting of like reviews and stuff to do, but you know, the game is the game, right? Like, what more do I have to really say? You just go in and you batter up and you smash things and try to smack stuff out of the stadium, so you get the big showcases, so you feel all powerful with your home runs and, you know, stuff like that. And it's got all the advertising elements. This is what I'm talking about. It's like this, but they actually have like sequences where they're like dancing. It's weird. I'm like, do they do that in the MLB? Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that. And they'll be in the dugout and they'll be like dancing around after a big hit or something. And I was just like, is that new? So anyways, that's the end of that game. I mean, obviously we've still got more to showcase here, but give you a glimpse of the menus and everything. Like the menus, everything loads fast. Yeah, everything goes well. Yeah. That's the historic leagues. And exhibition. See, it's if anything, the menu is actually kind of boring. I would say is that they have a slightly more boring menu than usual, but that is so like non-essential because it's like, you know, it's like a small little thing you see for 2 seconds. I guess we could do a historical thing, and I couldn't find it. It doesn't look like they have the Field of Dreams this year. They did last year, so I don't know what's going on or if I missed it, but like, yeah, it doesn't really seem like that is present within this one. So then we'll just jump in here and get playing. But yeah, they've got the broadcast setting and style that you would expect from previous years with adjustments. Commentary is reactive to what's going on. How intensive and well done the commentary is, of course, is going to be your individual thoughts on how, you expect the sport to be commentated. I think that's a big part of things too. But yeah, it's a full, expansive baseball game. From capturing the essential core elements of, kind of hitting the ball and moving around the bases, to having throwback modes, or having regular seasonal modes, or postseason modes, or expanded seasonal modes, or side moments that pop up, or, all the little things that matter. They're all here. All the characters are represented. All the athletes are, rendered and properly represented, and they even have the historical outfits on the backdrop. That's funny. Did he actually get that? Oh, I thought that was going to be gone. I am actually legitimately disappointed that oh, they actually have all the old-time outfits on. That's funny. Huh. I guess I don't do the fields usually that have the historical people, like we've done. Literally during streams, the historical, like, arenas and that. Or stadium, sorry. Weird. I would say, what I would imagine, though, for the game down the road, I would expect, again, some sort of frame rate type options would be cool to see. I would like to see, I think maybe some ray tracing down the road would be cool, and I know that sounds silly, but, maybe, like, reflected, like, helmets and stuff, and shadows, and that would be pretty easy to go with. But, I don't know, they got a powerful, well put together baseball game that I enjoy literally playing every year. I've reviewed this so many years now. I imagine I'll continue to review it down the road too. And it's actually kind of crazy because sports games literally mark like a whole year of change from when that particular sports game comes out. And it's just kind of like, when I first started doing the MLB reviews, I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And then you do it a few years and you're like, wow, I really kind of used to this. And then you get into like 5 or more years. Oh, that's out of here. 5 or more years, and you're just kind of like, this is a regular year-on-year kind of thing. And then you're just like, wow, it's been, over 5+ years you get, wow, it's like, I can't believe it's been a whole other year. You get like these long legacies of reviewing and covering these, these sports titles. It really does kind of mark events in your life and all that. It's really wild and reflective to think about, actually. But yeah, it's also cool because I literally cover like, the different iterations of this, whether that's like, I cover from the Series X, the Series S, and the PS. Wow, that's good, and the PS5 version too. So I get a good glimpse of how it's looking on all the platforms, and it's always a well put together, well set up game, and they really do seem to have basically mastered throwing this out on the Series X side of things because it's a good quality game. I just I really kind of sit here and just ponder. I'm like, what else could they even add that would be like truly mind blowing? You know what I mean? And it's like that for almost every sports game. Where I'm like, what else did they give you? What more could you have? And kind of always run a bit of a blank slated mind on that. I'm kind of like, I don't know. They've got everything I expect, everything I want out of a baseball game. It's like, what more can you really ask for? Guess they just kind of fine-tune physics and improve things over time, slightly and more, but it's good. Gets the job done. Plays well. Looks good. Feels nice, pleasing. It's a great game. MLB The Show 23. Nice.